Welcome back to the coverage of YCS Prague 2016, the second YCS in Prague that just doubled the numbers from last year, or almost. We went from 600 to almost 1,000 players this year.
Yep.
That's quite something. We have a couple of other stories, like the adjusted list that just came into effect 2 weeks ago. So it's the first event in this new list, with this new format.
Yeah.
And it shook up the metagame.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, we had a single deck that was absolutely dominating, being the Pepe deck. And it was, you know, there was no discussion as to what the best deck was. It was absolutely, we saw YCS Atlanta, there was 29 out of 32 players in the top 32 playing the Pepe deck. And yeah, it's just, that's gone now.
Right. Right from the start, super dominant. Yeah. You guys might have seen the short piece that we had with Matt from the Konami offices in between round 1 and round 2. If you didn't catch it, no problem. We're going to show it later at some point. And of course, as everything else, it's going to be on YouTube. I think later today, maybe already. So you can also check it out there, where Matt is going in depth.
Yeah, quite a lot
on about the metagame, why they made this decision.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to him, and he said that he felt quite strongly about being able to do this and letting people know.
It's a very transparent way of communicating.
Yeah.
This is why we did this decision.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. In our first round, we saw last year's champion Valon Letertre from France going up against a player from the US coming over to Europe to play in this first ever YCS. That's quite cool. With the former champion coming out on top with Burning Abyss.
Yeah.
And this round, we're going to see something. It's basically like last round where Mermail was coming back. This round, we're going to have one of the older decks coming back, and it's the Monarchs.
Yeah.
I love this, that one of the oldest decks in Yu-Gi-Oh history is coming back.
I don't want to say, I don't want to throw the fact out that it's like one of the oldest like archetypes, but it absolutely
Sander Louesen is playing the Monarchs. He's from Denmark, and funnily enough, he's going up against his friend Daniel Bendtsen, and they are playing in the same locals, in fact, which is quite something. Also from Denmark, so of course he is playing Kozmo. Now, guys, we got something new that I really wanted to show you. Let's bring that up on the screen for you. That is our new tool on this second iPad, and you can tell these numbers are not exactly correct, but these are the decks we already entered in this new app that we're having. So this way we can not only show you the overall metagame of the event, but also we can show you what the metagame looks like in every single round. So these are all the players we have been entering for the first round. And if we compare it to round 2, you're going to imagine there's not going to be that much of a difference. But you can see slight changes. Draco Performer Pal, only 59 all of a sudden. Maybe one of the guys playing this deck dropped after the first round.
Yeah.
This is going to be a lot more interesting later today when we can show you for every single round in hindsight how the numbers are changing. And the same thing can be said for the country breakdown. So this is going to be my favorite tool for the weekend. I'm going to use this a lot. Yeah. We're also going to use it in between rounds to fill some of the gaps. So you have to watch less replays of past feature matches, and you can listen to us and look at the statistics a little bit more. Now, for these two guys that we're having in our feature match this round, we can actually look up who they have been playing against. So let's see. We got that on the screen. This is the current round, of course, and this is the first round of Daniel Bendtsen, where he went up against Andrew Ward. So he won his first round 2-1. You cannot see that on the screen, but I can tell you that. And later today we will have all the decks in the app, so we can tell you exactly. In the first round he went up against this and this guy, and he won. Second round he went up against this and this guy, and he lost, and so on. So this is going to be quite cool. Let's just quickly check if we know the opponent of Mr. Louesen in the first round. Just give me a second. And who do you think is going to be the favorite going into this match, Luke?
So it's a matchup that a lot of people say are just is like one of the decks is going to win, but it's entirely possible that if Monarchs get a really good hand, then they are able to beat Kozmo. But sometimes the Monarch deck does what people say brick. it doesn't quite get the right cards and can't really make any plays. Right. So I don't want to go out and say that Monarchs are going to win super easy, but they've got a good matchup in this matchup.
All right. I hope you guys are excited for the match. Let's take you to them, to Daniel Bendtsen and Sander Louesen on our feature match table for round 2. You can see Daniel Bendtsen on the left. Now the other iPad is coming into play. So much technology, this thing. And Sander on the right. And here we can see the starting hand of Sander.
So he opens up straight away with Kozmo Farm Girl. So that's not one of the new Kozmo cards.
Right, so Daniel is going first. With 2 set cards, Call of the Haunted, Anti-Spell, Fragrance.
So I think this is in his end phase here. He's going to get out the card which we talked a lot about yesterday in the deck profile we did. So he's used the Farm Girl's effect to summon out Dark Destroyer. Dark Destroyer allows you to destroy a monster when it comes out on the field. And then he can go get Tin Can. Now, Tin Can in the end phase has got a very important effect. It allows you to go get 3 different Kozmo monsters from your deck. Sorry, not just monsters, just Kozmo cards from your deck, so you can get Kozmo Town as well. And then you roll a dice to see which one randomly gets added to the hand, and the others go to the graveyard, which is, as you can see, there's a Call of the Haunted there as well. So if you send other ships down to the graveyard, then you can get them straight back.
Right.
With Call of the Haunted.
You really don't mind that you don't know exactly which card is going to be added to your hand, because at the end of the day, it's card advantage.
Yeah, it's still good that you're getting cards. And, you know, even if you might not get the exact card you want, then you've still got Call of the Haunted to get that exact card you want from the graveyard. Something very interesting as well is that he's main decking Anti-Spell Fragrance. I don't want to say that it's, you know, it's a completely strange thing to do, because there's a lot of decks out there that play a lot of spell cards right now, especially obviously the way the pendulums work. You're not allowed to set them, so as soon as you play Anti-Spell Fragrance, you just can't play pendulum cards. And it's actually quite good against Monarchs because of the amount of spell cards they play and how reliant they are on the consistency factor because of those spell cards. So, yeah, straight away we see Anti-Spell Fragrance straight up.
Yeah, Sander is entering his turn right away. Anti-Spell Fragrance in play.
Yeah. So I don't know which card Daniel got added to his hand, but I'm sure we'll see
that later. Yeah, it's going to be updated soon.
So I think that is Super Quantum Red Layer.
Yeah, let's bring that card up for you guys.
This is a brand new card. It's like a Cyber Dragon-like effect.
Doesn't look like it. It doesn't really match, though.
I think it's just really shiny.
It's just really shiny. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. I thought it was just being super shiny.
Somebody adjust the light, please.
Yeah. So it's got a one of the effects is that it's like a Cyber Dragon-like effect, and I think the other effect's only relevant when you're playing other Super Quantum, which we only see him playing red layers. So I think he might just be using it for the Cyber Dragon-like effect, because all the other effects aren't really relevant if you don't have other Super Quantums.
Right.
Okay, so he must have had a Dark Destroyer off of the Tin Can, so he's going to use that straight away and hit Eidos there. So, you know, I think he already must have known that was going to happen.
Right.
So
here's the Call of the Haunted.
Yep, so that's the call.
The back row is really, really important for Kozmo, right?
Well, for Kozmo, yeah. And it's more important in this situation because Monarchs were struggling because they couldn't play any spell cards. Now, if they'd have been able to play Patheism of the Monarchs there, they'd have been able to draw some more cards. And, you know, we all know that drawing cards is good.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, so getting through your deck and using the multiple effects of Patheism. So obviously, he's still going to be able to use the second effect of Patheism, which is you can banish it to basically do the same thing Tin Can does. You get 3 different... you can just get 3 Monarch cards from your deck, and then your opponent chooses which one to add to your hand. So obviously, it's got its advantages. So you can pick the same one over and over again. You just pick 3 of the same, then you just get it to your hand.
Right. Here's first blood, so to speak, with Daniel going in and Sander dropping to 4,600, 4,700. I stand corrected.
Yeah. So he's like, this is a lot of damage on the board right now. And I think he just tribute summoned there. That's fine. So you can just tribute summon that. And obviously he did that because he knew that his opponent was just setting his spell cards.
Yeah.
And the spell cards are really powerful. He wanted to get rid of those.
While Upstart Goblin is certainly not the most powerful target, it still helps him to slow his opponent down. Yeah. And yeah.
Exactly. So I think he's gonna struggle here because he's just got another Patheism.
Yeah, I was about to ask what cards can help Sander to get out of this lock, so to speak.
So he needs to summon a Monarch that can spin away that anti-spell fragrance, really, or he can summon like a Kuraz that can deal with it as well. So Kuraz allows him to destroy it. Let's have a look. Has he got any of this trap cards or anything? No. So I think Kuraz is probably going to be his best option, or Erebus as well. Erebus can spin it away.
Right.
But certainly he's got options for it. It's a matter of getting enough monsters on the field to be able to, make those plays.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Monarchs. They need a bit to get going, and then as soon as they get going, they get really big monsters on the field.
Right.
Again, Kozmo do exactly the same thing.
But yeah, speaking of that, this is the conclusion of the first game with Thunder seeing no out to this whole thing.
Yeah, and we were talking about the surprise factor that you have of Kozmo earlier. We were talking, you can just, as soon as you get a farm girl connected to your opponent's life points, it's just,
Then again, that's
away.
not exactly true when you're going against a guy from your locals.
Yeah.
These two guys will probably know what the other is playing inside out.
Yeah.
Daniel Bendtsen, I remember, has been successful before at a couple of other events. Let's just see if I can bring that up. Do you remember the name?
Daniel Bendtsen, yes, he was at the European Championships. We featured him at the European Championships as well. And he was telling me before the game, actually, we featured him against another one of his friends at the European Championships.
So that might be his thing, yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the quarterfinals, in fact. He was playing Star Seraph Shadow back then.
Yeah.
And that was, of course, the European Championship last year in Dublin that Ido Marcus won.
Yeah, that was quite a strange deck to be playing at the time as well, because it was a field of Necros. But we talked about that in the welcome video today.
Yes,
that was the event where everyone was just definitely Necros. All we're going to see is Necros, and then the players thought the exact same thing. All we were going to see were Necros, and then a few really kind of tactful players decided, I'm just going to play something that's not Necros, and I'm going to make my deck be able to beat only Necros.
It was interesting because we had 28 players in the top 64 playing Necros. Yeah. So the odds of Necros winning at that point were pretty bad. If you're into betting, that wouldn't have been a good call.
Yeah.
But in the top 8, only one Necros deck remained.
Yeah.
We got to give him credit. Jörg Müller, he did advance all the way to the finals, but there he met his master in Ido Marcus.
Yeah.
And, well, big shout out to all the other guys that made the top 8 of the European Championship. They really showed you what you can do against one of the main decks that can have a big, big target on its head.
Yeah, I wish you could see my massive smile about that game. I specifically remember being sat there watching Ido Marcus in the European Championship finals. It's Thunder King Ryos, Blackluster Soldiers, it's just a blur.
Yeah.
But he made that game really short.
Right. But from the decks we entered so far, and we're talking about 170 decks roughly, so it's not a large percentage of the field, but at least something. We have seen 63 Draco Performer Poll turns out to be the most popular deck so far. And then in close, shortly after that, we see Kozmo and Monarch with 49 and 47. So it looks like these are the three bigger decks this weekend.
Yeah.
And then Atlantean, or Mermils, as I like to call them for some reason.
Water.
Yeah, Water in fourth place with 20 copies. But those numbers are going to shape up very differently. Also, the funny thing is because we're entering them by last name, so there are some countries where half the population has a last name that starts with the same letter. Like M is really popular in Germany, for example, because you have names like Müller, for example. A lot of guys are named Müller in Germany, for example.
Yeah.
So if you enter the pile with M, suddenly you have all the Germans in there.
Yeah.
And if for some reason all the Germans decide to play one particular deck, the whole metagame breakdown is going to shape up very differently.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing some trends with the decks and where they're from as well.
Yeah. All right, that's it for the first game.
So let's have a look at these side deck cards here. Let's see what's going to make a big difference. So Majesty's Fiend straight away, right at the top of the side deck. Here, obviously, if you manage to get Majesty's Fiend out, your opponent can't summon any ships. It's as simple as that.
Right.
Or they can't put any ships in the graveyard using the tin can. But it's kind of weird because
it really wrecks the Kozmo deck, doesn't it?
It's one of those things where if Kozmo go first against Majesty's Fiend and they manage to get a ship in the graveyard, like a bigger ship, either Forerunner or Eclipser or Dark Destroyer, then you can just call the Haunted it back.
Yeah.
And be able to get over Majesty's Fiend.
Right.
Which, that's easy. That's an easy way of getting around it.
But what other ways are there to get around it?
So,
I mean, Raigeki is a very easy way.
Probably side decking Dark Hole as well.
And given your odds today, it's very likely that Daniel is just going to play Raigeki.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some kind of Raigeki or Dark Hole involved.
Yeah, where you're like, there's this one option where I just have to play 5 different cards and then I can get around it. And But let's see if Daniel has this card.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm actually getting confused. It's a good thing that these iPads have different colors, otherwise I would get really confused. So much technology in front of us.
So I don't know who's chosen to go first, but we'll soon find out. So Ether, always a nice card to have. Domain of the Monarchs, it's the field spell. March of the Monarchs.
Isn't it likely that Sunder wants to go first, knowing that his opponent is main decking anti-spell fragrance?
Yeah, and because of the ability to play Majesty's Fiend quite swiftly is good. So he's got a Super Quantum Layer Red as well. I can't quite remember if Quantum Layer Red can be summoned if your opponent doesn't have monsters. It's just if you don't control any monsters.
You can special summon it.
Yep, and you can then target a Super Quant card from your graveyard and out to your hand. So it kind of looks after itself in a way. So it adds itself back.
Domain of the True Monarchs, one of the new cards.
So that was quite a complex play, but it actually looked quite simple. That he's played Domain. Domain's effect has reduced the level of Ether, so he can only tribute one monster with for Ether, because that reduces its level. And then he's summoned Ether. Ether has gone and got Kuraz. The cost of Ether is that you have to send some of your spell and traps to the graveyard. Now, the Prime Monarch, the trap card that you see there, and Patheism sent to the graveyard are both great in the graveyard. Their effects in the graveyard are fantastic. And then Kuraz effect is going to trigger, and Kuraz allows you to destroy up to 2 cards on the field. And then whoever owned those cards, you get to draw 2 cards. So he gets to draw 2 cards himself.
Is this the best opening you can have with Monarchs?
It's pretty good.
Because it sounds like it's quite a bit. Like
it was quite a complex little play, even though it looked quite simple there, actually.
Right.
Yeah, so let's see what cards he has here.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the other cards of Daniel's hand to load in. We do have Kozmo Strawman and Solemn Strike so far. That's not much. Let's call it a start.
Yeah, so Sander here is searching for Patheism of the Monarchs. So he gets to search his deck for 3 different, I keep saying 3 different. He gets to search for 3 Monarch cards and then show them to his opponent. His opponent gets to pick which one goes to his hand. Obviously, if he's playing 3 copies of the same one, then he can just show his opponent all 3 copies, and then that works that way.
Yeah, some people used to play Painful Choice that way.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, the obvious move was always like, there we go.
Yeah,
this is exactly what you just described.
Yeah, so 3 Tenacity of the Monarchs.
Right. Painful Choice, lots of players back in the days, we had like, I'm going to go for Sinister Snake, too light, too dark.
Yeah.
And it didn't really matter what the opponent was picking.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he would always pick the snake most of the time. That was the one way of playing Painful Choice. There was a different strategy that involved holding on to the card until a situation arose where you would just search for 5 cards that all meant I'm going to win the game right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Typically involving something like Snatch, Steal, Change of Heart.
Snatch, Prem.
Maybe Monster Reborn, something like that.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting to see because you have these players that just like draw into Painful Choice, drop it immediately without thinking about it, and then you have these other players who are like holding on to the card for, well, the right moment, and then it wins the game.
Yeah. So here we see him use the other effect of Patheism, the actual effect where you actually play it on the field. You discard a Monarch card from your hand, and you get to draw 2 cards. So that just, again, adds that little bit of consistency to the deck.
Right.
Now
this deck should really be called New Monarchs or something.
Yeah.
Because like a couple of players came up to me yesterday and they're like, oh yeah, I'm back into the game and I love it. I'm going to play Monarchs. I used to play them back in the day. I'm like, oh yeah, Monarchs, really cool. Like Saborg, Möbius, Ryza, Testalos. And they were like, yeah, I'm not playing any of those. So how do you still call it Monarchs? I mean, yes, the strategy is kind of the same. You tribute monsters.
Yeah.
But like all the cards are different suddenly. All of them.
Yeah. So let's see what Kozmo can come up with here. So he didn't actually get any of his kind of super anti-Kozmo cards here. He hasn't got the likes of like an Imperial Iron
he only started with a big monster, another card on the field, and 4 cards in hand. That's really bad, yes.
March of the Monarchs. I think that's every time you tribute summon. Oh, one second, let me double check.
Yeah, tribute summon monsters you control cannot be targeted by
that was the other one I thought.
Or destroyed by card effects.
Yeah.
You cannot special summon monsters from your extract. Not much of a problem for this deck.
Yeah.
All right, so a Solemn Strike goes face down for Daniel Bendtsen. He got rid of the March of the Monarchs.
Yeah, so obviously that makes it so that you can, again, target and destroy his opponent's monsters with Dark Destroyer.
Yep.
Which is the most important part of that.
I think we're still missing some cards in his hand, unless he forgot to draw 2 more. We only have a Kozmo Strawman and an Effect Veiler here. Is there anything else you can make out? There is another Kozmo monster.
Yeah, I think he's got a Slip Rider.
Yeah, one of the higher level ones was it? I'm pretty certain, yeah.
He's got a Vela, Slip Rider, and I think a Forerunner as well.
All right. Thunder, on the other hand, just drew into the Monarchs Storm 4th.
Yeah, so that's a great way to deal with the ships, because you can just tribute them. And yeah, you just tribute them off for your own Monarchs.
Yeah, good news for him. There's no anti-spell fragrance in play this time.
Yeah.
He does have a Mystical Space Typhoon just in case.
For the strike.
No, he uses it on strike, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason not to in that situation, I guess, because you just... Okay, so he's just revealed that he has a Majesty's Fiend. Now, this is big. This is really big, because if his opponent doesn't have any trap cards to use, doesn't have any trap cards which would be Call of the Haunted, and he's just going to be able to put some big defensive cards up here and play Majesty's Fiend and hopefully stop his opponent from playing any other cards.
And it's quite interesting to see, because the first game was so dominated by Kozmo and their anti-cards, which is the anti-spell fragrance.
Yeah.
And the second game might now be dominated by one of these anti-cards.
That's tough.
Of Thunder, of the Monarch deck.
So Idea would have gone and got Eidos from the deck, and Eidos allows you to have another normal summon. Now, the reason that's so rough is because now he's just used his normal summon on Idea.
Which is not going to do much.
No, so, and now he can't play his Majesty's Fiend, which gives Kozmo another turn to kind of establish themselves.
And they also know they can see the writing on the wall because he did reveal the card.
Yeah, exactly. So that was it was a great move to be able to get that Effect Veiler out on Idea.
Yeah. And Daniel Bendtsen is actually playing 2 copies of Effect Veiler together with 2 copies of Maxi in his main deck. It's fair to say that Maxi is not going to stay in for this particular matchup.
No, I don't think so. He's probably... I want to say that he'd put Troll and Lockbird in as well.
He's actually running 3 copies of Mask of Restrict.
Yeah.
That's like...
If you manage to get that down, then your opponent has to have some kind of Twin Twisters or...
It's really bad news for the Monarchs, really, when you consider that he's running Anti-Spell Fragrance and now, on top of that, also Mask of Restrict.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of cards that can really wreck the day of the Monarch player.
Surprisingly, we didn't see any of his trap cards that first turn either. So let's see, what's that trap card that he's just drawn?
Trying to get the hand of Daniel Bendtsen, and for some reason we're still waiting for the app to update this. Okay.
Yep, so anyway, so as we carry on without looking at the hand, we can see, so Strawman's come out, been able to use Strawman's effect, which gets a card from your Banished Zone, a Kozmo card from your Banished Zone, and summoned it back to the field.
Right.
Which is really good because, Idea's not got much attack points, and Farm Girl can just get straight over that. Now here we see the very famous play, Cyber Dragon Nova into Cyber Dragon Infinity. Very powerful card. So he's going to take that, put that underneath. I don't know why unless I just completely misrecalled the effect of Infinity. I didn't think that you had to detach to take cards from your opponent. Anyway, so yeah, he's going to take away his opponent's monster and then attack into Idea, and then Idea has an effect when it hits the graveyard, and then you negated that with Cyber Dragon Infinity.
Right. So suddenly Daniel is sitting in the driver's seat again.
Yep. Out of nowhere yet again.
Yeah, and it appears that few people are agreeing with the Idea play earlier, because of getting Effect Veil was like an option or something.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where you're gonna kick yourself later because you're gonna think, well, did I really need to extend my plays into having an Idea and Eidos? Did I really need to do that? But it's tough because maybe you didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
But you could still have thought to yourself, oh, in this possible situation, I just lose.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one.
But again, guys, it is the feature match area. It's not that hard, not that easy to play there. with the additional extra pressure of sitting under the spotlight in the most literal of ways.
Yeah.
There is a spotlight on your face.
Yeah. I still don't understand why we only have one material attached to Cyber Dragon Infinity now. Because I didn't. Yeah. You don't have to detach materials to.
Right.
You don't have to detach materials to steal your opponent's monsters. But anyway.
So is there anything that Sander can do to still turn this around here?
Just he has to keep playing cards until Infinity's low enough. But yeah, Infinity's low enough right now because it's going to be on 2300. So what did... Oh, we don't know what the trap card is for Daniel. Oh, we do. It's called the Haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's just going to be able to attack over the Infinity with Majesty's Fiend. And then he's searching with March of the Monarchs. Is it March of the Monarchs? Return of the Monarchs?
Return of the Monarchs. Yep.
Yeah. He's searching because he tribute summoned a monster. And then, yeah, Majesty's Fiend's just going to shut off all effects now.
Right. So suddenly Sander is sitting in the driver's seat again.
Yep.
Didn't really see that coming. And now Daniel needs an out. We still don't know the exact contents of the end.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think, yeah, just Sander's going to be able to take this away now. He's got Majesty's Fiend, and his opponent just can't really do much. He's going to be able to Call of the Haunted something back. I think it's Call of the Haunted, but his only targets are stuff that's lower than Majesty's Fiend. I don't think he's got any big enough ships in the graveyard.
Yeah, it seems like Daniel was running out of steam here.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, Cyber Dragon Infinity, normally you expect this card to really like wrap things up.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it should have. He shouldn't have detached Slip Riders. That's not an effect of Cyber Dragon Infinity. I think that was a mistake. But it's not a mistake. He shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Right.
So we'll have to have a look. Maybe there was something that me and you missed about that effect.
All right.
Well, but
that did it for the second game.
Yeah.
And with that, we're tied at 1-1 between Daniel Bendtsen and Sander Louesen, who play each other every week.
Yeah.
In Denmark in a local league. But this time they are actually doing it on the big screen.
Yep. So, yeah, again, we're going to see them delve into their side decks and change that up a little bit.
All right. This concludes 2 games. Actually, round 2, I wouldn't say it's one of the super important ones. It's like
no, even if you've lost one, you're still in good stead.
Yeah, you can always fight back, come back.
Yep.
But like sometimes it really makes a difference. Like if you're 3-0, for example, in round 4, or actually if you're 3-1 and you're playing round 5. If you win, 4-1 is a good result. You're still well on your way to victory. If you lose and you're suddenly in the 3-2 range, which is like really mixed, you suddenly go up against a lot of decks that you didn't expect to see in this tournament most of the time.
Sometimes it's really tough. I think Ryan's actually just gone and explained the situation to them. Yeah, sometimes it's kind of tough because if you do hit that kind of level and you've built your deck in such a way where you want to compete with the really, the decks that you think are going to be the best decks,
right?
Then it's tough because you're going to see these what people call rogue decks, and you're not going to be prepared for them. Your deck's not going to be constructed in such a way to beat them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you get to that kind of score. But I've got a very good story of one of my friends at the European Championships who he went 0-2 in the first 2 rounds. And then he was like, oh, surely I'm not going to be able to just win like another 6 rounds. And he just absolutely did it. He just went out and won all the rest of the rounds, and he got to like top 64, I think it was. Yeah, so it's never too late.
Never too late. Yeah,
it's never too late.
I think there were tournaments where Alpai, for example, lost the first round and then just went on and won everything else
Yeah,
afterward.
we always say whenever our friends, you know, when we're playing at regionals and things like that, we always say, oh, I guess you can be the X1 hero this time.
Yeah,
Because it's, you know,
the
you're only allowed
X1 hero.
the X1 hero, because you know you can only lose one game at like a regional sized event
Right.
to be able to top.
This is normally the point in time where PJ loves to share his story how he did at the European Championship many years back.
Yeah, he'll be in the chat.
I don't know, he was like 7-0 or something at one point. Something like that.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, I got this. I'm in the top 64. I only have to win one more round or something. And then he lost the next 5.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did the same actually in YCS Paris. I won like, all my rounds right up to the end. I was playing Infernity. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I was playing Infernity. But, you know, it just got me all the way, and then suddenly I started just getting hands that were just unplayable.
Well, while we're talking about decks, let's maybe bring up the deck breakdown again, if that would be possible, guys. So you can see the overall deck breakdown, because it's actually shaping up nicely. Because while we are talking, while you guys are watching, these two guys are playing in the feature match area. Our judges are hard at work entering more decks into our app. So now we have like a more complete picture of the overall metagame of the event.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we can bring that up here. That would be nice. I think we can. We can. Yes, there we go.
Oh, so we can see it shaping up nicely there.
Yeah, so the top 3 decks that we had before still continue to stay at the top, really.
Yep.
And
the bottom 3 decks are kind of...
And this is more likely what the graphs are going to be looking like at the end of the day in relative numbers.
Yes.
Because those are only the decks that we have already in the app.
Yeah, so just to note, those aren't the complete decks.
Yeah, these are the trends, basically.
Yeah, just as we're going through and updating all these decks and inputting them all to the system, we're going to show you guys to keep you up to date.
And don't blink, guys. You now see a slight difference between round 1 and round 2. There you go. You could tell we have suddenly 82 instead of 83 Draco Performer Pulse. So one guy dropped. We have 65 Monarchs instead of 66 Monarchs. So one guy that played Monarchs dropped, and so on. This is going to be a lot more exciting later today in round 4, 5, or 6 or something, when we can see what decks are suddenly staying in the field and what decks are new feature this weekend. I'm really excited about this. We're gonna show you in between rounds. Let's go back to the feature match table, where Daniel and Sander are about to kick things off for the second game. And Ryan is entering the cards of Sander one by one, so his hand is slowly but steadily being added here.
So we see the Kozmo player here. Daniel, he's using Kozmo Town's magical mallet-like effect, where you can put as many Kozmo cards, Kozmo monsters from your hand back into your deck, shuffle it up, and take cards from the top of your deck, draw your cards equal to the number you put back. Again, that just adds the consistency to the deck. Sometimes you don't draw what you want afterwards, but even if you don't draw what you want afterwards, you didn't want those cards in the first place.
Yeah. Chances are
so it's just
the cards that you got rid of were not the best option.
Yeah, so it just gives you that extra little bit to try and get in the groove of your Kozmo deck.
Right.
PJ is sharing his 0-6 story in chat.
Yeah, it was actually 7-5. I got it correctly. All right. So, Daniel, 3 face downs.
Yep, so...
And then the all-important emergency teleport to go for the tin can.
Yep. Yep, and I think he's got a Mask of Restrict as well in his hand. You guys can't see his hand, but I can see... There's a Mask of Restrict. Yes, I think we're just having some technical difficulties with the player's hands and such, so we'll try and do the best we can without it. So the teleport gets the Tin Can, and then Tin Can's effect is going to resolve here. He's picked his monsters and then added one to his hand. I don't know which one he's added to his hand, but we'll soon find out. So I think he's going straight in and summons his Forerunner, which is a good move.
It definitely is.
Yeah, it's untargetable, 2/8, it's really big. That's great. So obviously Sander is on the right playing Monarchs, so he's not got Cosmos. But here we go. So yeah, here's his hand. So let's see here. So it's really rough here because Kozmo chose to go first because of the possibility of Majesty's Fiend here. Now he has got a Monarch Stormforth, so he's going to be able to play Monarch Stormforth. Okay, maybe not right away, but at some point just this turn he's going to be able to play Stormforth and then summon his Majesty's Fiend by tributing his opponent's monster. That's what Stormforth does. So let's see how he plays it out here. Let's see what cards he got off of Pathism.
All right. And one of the new cards? Well, actually, all of these cards. Almost all of the cards are new cards.
Yeah, actually, the only card that isn't new is Kuraz and Stormforth as well, I guess. Yeah, so there's Red Layer. So that's a great draw because he can just outright special summon that from his hand because he doesn't control any monsters. Now, the great part about this is he's playing into 3 back rows. Now, when I'm playing and I'm playing into 3 back rows, I just think to myself, right, I just need to start doing some stuff and hope my opponent starts using his back rows just to stop me. So we don't know what the back rows are for Daniel, but it could be an array of like Solemn Strikes, Solemn Warning, Mask of Restrict, could be Call of the Haunted.
Those
or
are
Oasis.
the usual suspects.
Yeah, the usual suspects. So again, he's just kind of drawing through all his cards here, getting a good setup in his hand. I think again he's probably doing what I just said. He's trying to look for answers for those back rows. Now, obviously, like if he drew a Twin Twisters, that'd be perfect because that's going to be able to get rid of 2 of those back rows. But we'll see what he draws here. I think he's only going to be able to have at most 2 summons, so that Red Layer and then his tribute summon for the turn.
Right.
He's not going to be able to get much more done.
Yeah. What else does Daniel Bendtsen need in this situation? I mean, he's got a good field.
Yeah, so here we go. So as soon as he plays Monarch Stormforth here, he's playing the Mask of Restrict, so that straight away stops the Forerunner. Stops the Forerunner being tributed. So Xander's now at a loss. He can't really do anything because of that Mask of Restrict, and he has no way to stop it. I think that's...
You think that might be game already? Not
every time I say that when we're casting together, Ollie, it doesn't work out that way.
That's my job. I'm just trying to trap you.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but yes. Okay, yeah. Right now, yes, that's it.
This reminds me a lot of the European Championship where Michael Gruner lost against the card that shut down Dragon Rulers completely. Was a mistake, I think. I'm not sure.
Not mistake. It was. It's level 3 spellcaster stops your opponent from special summoning. I can't remember its name.
Yeah.
But this is all she wrote here.
It was a spell card, trap card.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it might have been.
I think you cannot search cards from your deck or something like that.
Could be a mistake. But anyway, this is all she wrote here. He's going to attack with Forerunner, Farm Girl, attack, summon Dart Destroyer destroys Forerunner summon gets...
That is as straightforward as it gets, and you can see Sanders giving him the thumbs up. Yes, go for it.
Yeah, so he's going to go get another ship.
He's shuffling, but this is one of those situations where you can tell from the body language that not really much is happening. Like he's not going to have any answers here.
Yeah, it gets Slippy. Slippy's going to go get another Kozmo Town just to thin the deck out. There's another 23, so that's like 51 total. And then,
there is the handshake. Yes,
that's it.
Well, we saw that one coming.
Yes,
in the third game.
As soon as Farm Girl turned up.
So I think Daniel Bendtsen might actually have a perfect record when it comes to being featured. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, he's definitely going up against his friends a lot, which is funny because we didn't even know that when we picked that match.
Yeah.
But then, funnily enough, the app told us, hey, they're both from Denmark, and so this seemed like a good enough match to feature.
As I was talking about right at the start of the game, I think a lot of people in chat were saying Monarchs are definitely going to win. Yeah. No question. Monarchs are going to win. But
not so much.
So I didn't want to say it because you see hands like that where it's just, I could build a nice house with this, but playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right.
Not so much.
And was there anything where you felt like the players were making mistakes?
Not in this game. This game
was the third game was very straightforward, of course.
The third game was just straightforward.
In the second game, maybe?
Well,
It seemed like Cyber Dragon Infinity was not the right call.
No, that was perfectly right. It was just that what he did wasn't allowed.
Oh, okay.
He was definitely just not allowed.
Yeah.
So I think that was his own fault for not reading the card, but his opponent should have known as well. But his opponent was playing Monarchs, and they don't play Cyber Dragon Infinity Cup. He probably didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
That's one of these examples
Yeah,
where you
sometimes
can really tell, like, it's really important to know what your opponent's cards are doing, not just your own cards.
Yeah, but the Monarch player doesn't play an extra deck. They've given up a life of having extra deck monsters dedicated to the Monarchs.
Yeah. And right. So anything else we want to hear from Daniel Bendtsen, who has been successful before, like we said, in the top 8 of the European Championship last year?
I just think it's a really, really good list, very standard list. He's not playing the Saw Troopers build. He's not playing the Saw Troopers build. So I do think this. I like this build much better, but it might be a good question to ask him if he tried the Saw Troopers build, and also those main decked anti-spell fragrance would be a good question to ask.
Yeah.
It's obvious why he's playing them.
Well,
but,
this game definitely showed us. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I think there's going to be a couple more games where we probably can see why this is a good choice, in his opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay, well, that is it for our round 2 feature match. We're going to take a very short break, and then we're going to be back with an interview with Daniel Bendtsen, ask him about this match, how it went down, and how he prepared for the tournament, and all that. And with that, we're signing off for just a second. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to be back.